Alberta remains under a state of emergency as wildfires continue to burn across the province. The risks of smoke and flames are extreme, and there are warnings that this weekend's weather forecast is making conditions more dangerous.
This weekend is not the time to drop our guard. The wildfire threat remains as serious as ever. For anyone in the community on evacuation alert, please remember that the situation can change quickly.
Officials are urging people in Alberta to spend the holiday weekend indoors and to be prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. Kayla Hounsell is on this story for us today. She joins us now from Whitecourt, Alberta. So Kayla, thank you for joining us. What's happening where you are?
Well, Hillary, the danger remains very high to extreme across northern Alberta. The weather is a real problem here this weekend. As you mentioned, it is very dry, expected to be 10 degrees above seasonal, and the wind is expected to change this weekend, so certainly everyone keeping an eye on that. As of the latest update, there are 99 wildfires burning across this province, and within Alberta's forest protection area, there are 25 wildfires burning out of control. I'm at an evacuation center here in the town of Whitecourt. It is about a 2-hour drive northwest of Edmonton, and it is pretty smoky here as well. Most of the evacuees who are here are from the town of Fox Creek, even further north, where there are two very problematic wildfires. Fire officials say these are priority fires for them. They described them as very active and exhibiting extreme behavior. Yesterday, that fire jumped the highway, forcing the closure of a 50-kilometer stretch in that area. Now, residents of Fox Creek were asked to leave 2 weeks ago today, actually. So during that time, fire crews have been able to keep those flames at bay out of the town itself. But the fire is now right at the edge of town, so a very real concern for residents. And I had a chance to speak with some who are staying at a motel here in Whitecourt. They talked about how difficult it is. One man has been living in that motel with his 2 teenage daughters, 2 very large dogs, for 2 weeks now. And he talked about the financial strain of that, how scary the drive to Whitecourt was, those frantic moments of trying to gather up your life in just a few hours, really. But he also talked about how grateful he is for the people here in Whitecourt. Here's what he had to say.
They've been outstanding for us. They've bent over backwards to help us with our dogs and food and everything. So I take my hats off to this community. They are an awesome community. I wish I could do the same for them if the occurrence happens the other way, where they have to get evacuated. I'll stick my neck out for them 100%.
And of course, that fire is just one of many burning across the province, so officials are asking for more help, specifically 100 more troops from the Canadian Armed Forces, and they are also expecting more firefighters to arrive today from the United States. And it is help that is desperately needed. So far this year, there have now been nearly 500 fires in this province that have scorched 830,000 hectares. And to give you just a sense of what that area actually represents, 830,000 hectares, Hillary, it is 1.5 times the size of Prince Edward Island.
Wow, it's just huge areas of land that have now burned, Kayla. Of course, all week, officials have been talking about the fact that it's the long weekend, trying to prep people for that fact. So what are some of the major concerns this weekend?
Well, the long weekend itself is really a concern. We know that during the May long weekend is when we typically see a spike in fires caused by people. Last year on the May long weekend, there were 97 new wildfires on just this long weekend alone, and that was under far less extreme circumstances than we're seeing right now. Look, we know that the May long weekend is when people like to get outside, enjoy the outdoors, our parks, light campfires, and sometimes those campfires are not properly extinguished. People also like to get their ATVs out, and those hot exhausts can cause sparks, which can then ignite more fires. So Alberta is restricting off-highway vehicles. 12 provincial parks are closed, and there are widespread burn bans, all in an effort to mitigate what could potentially happen here. But on top of that, emergency management officials are really calling on Albertans to change their behavior, to stay inside, postpone any planned visits to public lands, and not be the cause of more fires, Hillary.